This is the more important thing of all if you want to talk about my music. Every piece of mine has an aim. I want to say something about something. I want to express what I feel in relation with the reality, what we live. In relation not only with the society, in relation with the human relationship. A song of love, it is because I dedicate to a woman that I was in love of. And if I do a requiem, it is for somebody that it was dead, who died, like Yud Aleph Matzavot, 11 tombstones, was for the people who were killed in München, or in Eius Memoriam, to all the boys who fell down in the Yom Kippur War. Every piece that I did, there is something behind it.
So it's not art pour art?
It's not pure art. I don't believe in l'art pour l'art. I don't believe in this. I am against this. This is a way to go away from the responsibility towards the society. This is what I was telling Nono. This is the main responsibility. But there is another responsibility. The responsibility to yourself. To be honest and to say what you really feel without thinking if it's going to be liked it or not by the public or by the expert or by the musicologist or by another composer. No. The important thing is to be faithful to yourself. What you have inside your soul. In this sense I'm a romantic.
A romantic and was expressionist?
Yes! What is the expressionism? It's a projection of the romanticism from the 20th century, It's a projection.
Why you say rust?
Huh?
Why you say rust?
Last?
Last. Why you think you are rust?
The last expressionism, because there is no more expressionists anymore. I think so. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps there is somebody in some place that I would understand what I'm talking about.
On the moon.
Yeah. I cannot say that the music that I have done till now, when I was mentioned to you the different periods of it, it is not a period in which I acquire a major or minor maturity in myself, but a major or minor knowledge of what really I wanted. But there is something in common in all the periods. In all the periods I try to put what I feel. What is the necessity in me in this moment to express. That's why I say, and the last time that we were talking, I say I am an expressionist. And when they say an expressionist, people doesn't understand what expressionism means. Because they take expressionism like the words say, expressionism. But expressionism is something else. Expressionism is to create a new world, because the world that we see, we don't like it. And then we wanted to change it. And then I think that in all the periods in which I have passed through my life, in all the periods I have tried to be honest to myself of what I want to express, in which the technique play a second role. The more important thing is what I want to express. The technique is a medium, is a tool that I use, that I manipulate. For instance, I was doing 12 tones, okay, but I was doing 12 tones categorically, like in Schoenberg you can find, or like in Anton Webel you can find, for instance. More like in Berg. I am more near this way. Though my music has nothing to do with Berg, I say the approach is similar. Or if I was doing total serialization, I knew exactly what total serialization meant. I learned the whole situation, analyzing the quadrature rythmique from Messiaen. And I knew that every sound, every duration, the 12 different durations, the different dynamics, etc., or what Boulez was doing later, including with 12 attacks, etc., etc. But I was not taking textually the same method. I was taking only as I needed, and then I was manipulated according to what my expression was important for me. I mean, in other words, in all the different techniques, I am in there. Me, my feelings. I am, if you want to say, but it sounds very funny not to say in our time, a romantical. In the sense that for me the emotion is the vital important thing that I want to express. I want to produce in the listener an awakening in which emotions attach him and react according to what I want to say. If it is a love song, or if it is something who is a golem, for instance, who has to be with the Jewish tradition, or if he has to be with the Latin American tragedy, the exploitation of the poor people of this earth, because I am to the side of the poor people of this earth, not to the side of the rich. Don't forget that I come from Latin America. I came here when I was already 38 years old. So a lot of my life I wasn't there. So a lot of things has to be with historical process who was in Latin America. This was Amereda, for instance, or Amerindia that you have it, or Amereda, you have the list in there, you can see this, in which I was dedicated to people who were fighting for a new world in there. But there were too, not only a political engagement. I don't like the term, because approached me to the socialist realism who was in Soviet Russia and all the so-called socialist countries, for whom I have a lot of sympathy in the sense of what they wanted to do, but not the way they did it. The way they did it was completely wrong, and then destroyed completely the idea of what Marx was thinking about it. Yeah. In any case, I went away from this political idea. I mean, I was not affiliated political to no party, except when I was young in the Shomer Tzahir. This was the only time in which I could think I was politically in a kind of a party, if I may say so. When I came here, for instance, I went away completely from politics. But it doesn't mean I didn't have a Weltanschauung, I mean, a conception of the world, a way in which I was looking reality, in way of what I was expressing my reality in relation with the reality who was going around me. I was not describing reality, I was creating a reality of my own, in which I was expressing myself. And expressing myself, I was expressing my feelings in relation with what surrounds me. Now, one very important role in my life as a composer has been my pupils. Because when you teach, you confront yourself with a lot of problems, because each pupil brings his own world. And then I think a teacher, a real good teacher, is the one who gives to this pupil the tool to express himself or herself, but not what I would do it. But I was listening, looking what they were doing. And according to what they were doing, I was trying to help them. Now this relationship produced in you, if you have a certain sensibility, and I think I have this sensibility in some way, affect me too. And I was checking with myself what I was looking, what this pupil was doing. Not influencing them, never, but giving to him mediums to express himself. Yeah? Of course, there is some basic things in which I was convinced that tonality, for instance, was finito in some way. It was overcome. There were new possibilities to enrich the language. So I was analyzing music of other composers was to be, or what was going on in the 20th century, so that the pupil has a knowledge of what was going on. Now, if it's going to adopt or not one of the ideas were in there in this music, let us say Stravinsky or Schoenberg or Berg or Beben or Varese or Luigi Nono or Penderecki or whatever it is something else. It's his choice. But my duty was to show it, the possibilities that these people were looking for. I was analyzing Lutoslavsky, for instance, without pretending that they are going to write like Lutoslavsky, but I thought that they need to have a culture. But it was not only here. I was always talking not only about music, but I was talking too and always mentioning literature, painting, culture, art, to try to express that art is a unity. What was going on in painting, perhaps not parallel in the same periods, but there is an impressionism in painting, there is an impressionism in music. They are not the same, of course they are not the same, but there is a certain objectivity that both of them were looking for. Yeah? The impressionist was going out of the place where he was painting. It was not anymore closed in a room like in the traditional classical painting. The same thing was the composer. Yeah. So when I talk about the BC, or I was showing the BC, or if I didn't have the time to do all what I would like to have done, I asked the pupil to listen to the BC, to listen to Ravel, to listen to Stravinsky. Now, in there, I was choosing some work of those people, and then I was analyzing them. Now, but the analysis was not so cruel in the sense of destroying the music, because the important thing is, and this is what I am so afraid sometimes, to begin to analyze and you make pieces the piece, the work. You destroy the piece. I always try, as much as I can, to express what the composer was trying to do with it. He was asking about the Bolero of Ravel, and I was saying that everything is based in the number 3. It's because it is everything in 3. Huh? And the subdivision is in 3. But it did consciously or not consciously, then comes the second part of your question, the intuition. There is something that perhaps we cannot control. And it's something that you dream with, something that you want to do. You dream with it, you have an idea about it, but when you write to the paper, you need to organize what this vision that you have before, intuitively spoken. But for me it was very important to put on my own music, I'm talking now, the spontaneity. The rational vision of the form and the structure, because there cannot be a work of art without a structure, without a conception in which you organize your thoughts. Is one thing, but another when you arrive to a mechanism, and this was my great disappointment with the total serialization. Because with the total serialization became a kind of mechanism in which the expression was secondary. The main thing was using the row, of durations, then the row of sounds, etc., or the dynamics of whatever it is. So it was a very short period in which I was doing this. But I was realizing that it was not for me. And I break with this. And I went to the opposite, to the proportional, if I may say so, in which time and space become a unity. Yeah? And instead of writing 3/4 and 4/4 or 5/8 to 2/8, I was writing in seconds. Yeah? So a kind of a new vision who came from the Polish school, by the way. This was the influence coming from Schidlowsky, etc., to whom I knew very little about this. I began to know more about these people when I came to Germany, when I began to have contact with music. All my knowledge in Chile, till I was 38 years, we didn't know Schidlowsky. His music was never performed there. Even Schwimmer was never performed. I began to know this much later. So the assimilation of what they were doing, it was their world. My world was different. So I need to find my own voice, my own way to express it. And in there, many times happened to me some coincidence. For instance, later when I studied Kabbalah and studied a lot of Gershom Scholem, who was a great influence, and I began to see the numerology that in the Kabbalah exists, I began to discover that I was born the 21st, 3 times 7 of July, the 7 months of the year, that's 131, 14. My family, 2 times 7. My family was composed from my wife, who rests in peace, me and 5 children, 7. I live in the 7th floor. Everything became like a persecution of the number 7. Now, I began to apply the number 7, and I discovered that my tempos that I was using were always multiples of 7. Or that the number of bar, the tectonic, was 7. Now, sometimes I was astonished, sometimes I was afraid. Sometimes I did it by purpose. This year, when I became conscious of it, I say, okay, then this is my destiny. This I should adopt. This I should not run away. I should not be afraid of it. On the contrary, I should use this. If it is all the time present in me, for some reason there is. I am not talking of the Almighty upstairs or downstairs, or I don't know who was doing this or not. I am not a mystic in this sense, but I respect the mysticism of the Jewish tradition because I think it's a very wide spectrum who has nothing to compare with other religions. No, I am not talking that we are superior or not to other people, but I think we are different. We are in some sense different. I don't know if I was clear what I tried to explain to you. Spontaneity was very important for me. Rational plays a role, but the main thing was expression. The main thing was to say something, not music per se. Even in a more abstract sonata there is always a drama. It's a conflict between themes, a conflict between the exposition and the development and the re-exposition. Now, this is a very dangerous way to look things, but this is the truth. This is the way what I was looking at. Behind every sound with me there is always a tear. And my life, unfortunately, has been in such sense receive events that they were not exactly very joyful, I may say so, if I may say so. This is a very good question because it touches something what worries me a lot. It worries me for a long time, not anymore. Now it came by itself, spontaneously. I just finished a painting I call it Shoah. There. It is behind this. The red one was down.
Has a red?
Yeah. Now, this came from a dream. Now, it came from a dream. I dreamed with it. I thought about it. I tried to explain why I was thinking about this, and I realized that it was because I saw a picture where it was the situation of a Shoah in France. Well, and then it came to me, and suddenly when I went to my atelier there and I began to paint, I put an example of painting, but the music is the same story. And then I realized, it's what I was dreaming. Now, what I was dreaming, I need to put it in a certain order, of course. Yeah. But this is not a problem for me. It was a problem before, yes. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but not now. Now it comes more spontaneously. I don't need to fight for it. It comes by itself. The hand began to move by itself. I control the hand, of course. Sometimes I correct things, of course. After I finish one score, I look to the score and suddenly I found there are mistakes that I have done. Yeah, I correct them. But I don't change the sense of what I wanted to say. But it's not a problem. Now, I understand that for a young person, it could be much different, the situation. You need to understand that I'm 42 years composing. And then, of course, this produced an experience. I was 42 years teaching. This helped a lot. Because this, as I said before, confronts you with other realities of other people, with other problematic, with other situations, in other age, with a completely different mentality, if I may say so. Now don't forget that besides of that, I have changed continents. I have been teaching in Peru, in Chile, in Argentina, and in Venezuela, or in South America, or I have been teaching in Germany, or I have been teaching in Spain, in Europe, or I came here, and I have been, mainly I was teaching here. In other places I was doing seminars. I was not constantly there, except in Chile where I was teaching a long time, But in all this confronts you with many realities who plays a role in yourself. So you are obliged indirectly to make a synthesis inside your mind, inside your heart. I never forget my heart. And I am not afraid to say that I am a sentimental. No. And when I say behind every sound there is a tear, it is true. But not only this, love was playing a very important role too. The affection for another person. The feminine, the eternal feminine was always around me. I love beauty. I feel attracted by beauty. And beauty plays a role in what I was doing. Many love songs. Many pieces in which I was inspired by a woman. I was inspired by the feeling, that you have. The presence of this person. It doesn't mean that you need to have a relationship with the person. I'm talking about you see it, I see it like a work of art. There are persons that you look at them and you feel there is something in there who fascinated you, that you put in art. I am not ashamed to say this because it's the truth. And I think it happened to any artist really. I am not talking of love affairs, don't misunderstand, it's something else. It's not that they didn't exist in my life, they have existed. But it's not this what I meant. I meant something else, something much more deep, much more inside. When I went away from Chile when I was 24 years old, and I break with my parents that they didn't want that I am a musician, as I think I told you, because for them it was not a profession. And I decided to go away. And when I was in France, to whom I wanted to study with Messiaen, but I couldn't because he was in Darmstadt. So I need to go to Germany, and Germany they were offering. I was 24 hours thinking, can I cross the border, because it was too fresh, the memory of the family of my father who was murdered. So I received a cable from my father saying, follow your destiny. This phrase I have never forget. Follow your destiny. And this destiny, what I tried to follow. Who is this destiny? Where conduce me this destiny? I don't know, but I try to be honest of what I do. I don't know if I have answered what you wanted to know. Something that I want to clarify to you. Literature plays to a very important role in what I have done in my life. And I have learned a lot from it. The conception of the Ulysses, James Joyce, work in progress, is something that influenced me a lot in many things. Now, the Dadaists with the automatical, the automatical putting in this hat where they were putting different words, and with it they were doing it. This were fascinating me in a certain period, of course. Now, the sentimentality and the conception of Schiller, or the conception of Goethe, or the conception of Shakespeare, or the conception of Dylan Thomas, to put it something of the 20th century, is their conception, is their reality. I don't like the generalization, because every artist is an individuum, is a personality, he has his own reality, and this reality one should respect. If we think of elegant Allan Poe, and we think in Walt Whitman, and we compare, we cannot say that one is better or not better than the other. I don't know. There are two opposite situations, two opposite spirit, two opposite sentimentality. Both they were quite sentimental and quite romantic. The difference, of course, that it was many, many years ago in the Kingdom by the Sea, it was a girl whose name was Annabel Lee. Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe, ¿no? Well, I congratulate myself and I say what is belongs to me, it belongs to you. This was Walt Whitman, yeah? Translated in Spanish. I know by heart in Spanish by Leon Felipe, who was a great Spanish poet. There, of course, I put these two examples like I put many other examples in painting or in music, whatever it is, Stravinsky and Schoenberg. Yeah, I put it one in front of the other. I don't say I follow Schoenberg. It was more near me than the conception of Stravinsky. But I cannot say that Stravinsky has not a value in itself. In Petrushka, Le Sacre du Printemps is a masterpiece, I think, written in 1913. But Schoenberg was already writing in 1909. The 5 pieces for orchestra, Opus 16, went much more far. And it's very funny. You know, originally, he didn't want to have any title. Not each one of the 5 pieces should not have no title.
After you.
Then the publisher obliged him to find a title. And look the title that he chose. So, in other words, there was something behind. So when called Farben, colors, it's the impression he was in front of a lake. And then there was a jumping fish going up as a thematical element. In the middle of Do, Sol, Diez, Si, Mi, La, this was the core, and what it was based. And this core is the basic element of the whole piece. When what he obtained the unity. Chum, 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 chum. Well, you will see the dance of the adolescent of Stravinsky in exactly different times. We have the same principle in the end. In the end it's the same. It was one main rhythmical with a certain proportion with A and B as I have analyzed. I think I analyzed for you too once upon a time this. And how he is polarizing these two situations. Now, I don't pretend to compare one with the other and to say that one is better and that the worse. No. I say that there are two different ways how they are looking the things. Now, this definition that you were making to me a moment ago, I don't accept it. Because I believe that sentimentality emotionally exists in all the periods of the history of art. In all the periods. Now, in some one is more open, in some one is less
It's
open.
naivety, you say. You say about naivety or sentimentality?
The naivety
The
now,
naivety.
for instance. In the naivety, what is naive? There is a whole period where there is naive in paintings, who were very simple people, I don't like the term what I'm saying, because they were not simple at all. But
Naive is not simple. Naive
naive
means
is
more...
the person who has no preconditions of what they are doing. They just put it on without mistrust. They trust what they do. Because for them it's a spontaneous expression of their soul. Okay, the rational type, that's the contrary, no? Yeah. But what's happened that in the middle of the rational, and here come Ulysses, James Joyce again, come a naivete too. And in the naivete come the rationality too. We cannot separe things, like usually we do. It is very dangerous, especially when you talk about an artist. Look Beethoven. Analyze what Beethoven was doing. And when he was improvising, and Schumann, and Schubert, a typical romantic composer, and I speak romanticism in the deep sense, where all the naivete that you are talking was present. He was composing his lieder in the cabaret, in the places where they were drinking because they have no place where to write. And then he does the doppelganger, and the doppelganger based in 4 sounds. It's a seriality already there. Where is the naivete of this? It's a rational thing? No, the poem of Heine was giving him the inspiration for doing this. And this chord, or this group of 4 sounds who are repeating and transposing and making in a retrograde and a permutation, it is because of the text of Heine was given to him this inspiration. Yeah? Now he's talking about Heine, a little anecdote. It's not for your work, but doesn't matter. There is something very strange about Schubert and Schumann. Schubert and Schumann were the two composers.
Okay.
The two composers who were doing mostly the songs based on Heine. They choose Heine. Now, Schubert was born in the same year that Heine, 1797. It's very strange, no? They were born in the same year. But Schumann and Heine died in the same year. Now you can say to me, this is superstition, everything you want, I don't know. And I don't care. But for me, it was a great discovery. I was very happy to find out. The digital Liebe by Schumann. My God, what a beauty. But what a beauty the text too. Huh? So I was honest towards this. So now I'm talking about something else, going away